This is the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we teach you the proven methods to grow your seven-figure business to 10 million and beyond. Please welcome your host, Brett Gilliland.
Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we're always looking for real lessons from real people like all of you who are trying to figure out how to scale your seven-figure businesses. Today's guest is no exception to all of the exceptional guests that we have. His name is Shawn Finnegan. Shawn is a partner at Tax Hive. His business is located in Utah, and he's made a name for himself as being somebody who has innovative strategies and exceptional networking skills. And we'll get to talking about that a little bit more. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Shawn before I welcome him to speak. Being in the trenches of both massive and small businesses, Shawn has discovered that any company's success hinges on its ability to nurture genuine connections. He focuses on building professional relationships that mutually benefit all involved, emphasizing the importance of being authentic and transparent in all business interactions. So let me go ahead and officially welcome you now, Shawn. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, Brett. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by this idea that all business really only happens through genuine human connection. Tell us more about your thinking about that, your approach to that, and how it's benefited Tax Hive and other businesses that you've worked with.
Yeah, so years ago, I had a business that I was operating, and I'd actually raised, so I literally didn't have anything. I started from scratch. I was like, I'm going to build this business. And so I had me and a couple other partners at the time. We went down to a hoagie yogi place. It was like literally a sandwich place. And we did these meetings and we developed this idea. Hey, we're going to start a business, make an impact. And we decided to go out and raise funds. So I had this incredible plan. And on the plan, on the spreadsheet, it showed me that I'd be a millionaire. And so I'm the spreadsheet.
It always shows that, right?
Yes, it did. The spreadsheet's amazing. It's magical. It's going to create $1 million for me. So I was really excited about it. So we had a plan, and then we brought on some people. So we had people, we had the plan done, and then it was time for me to raise capital. And this is in 2009.
Okay.
So I raised 1.5 million. It took me about 4 or 5 months to raise the money. It's like raising funds is not an easy thing where you have to sit down in front of investors. I was pre-revenue and I just had a plan that showed me I was going to be a millionaire in my plan. And I had to sit down with people and actually raise 1.5. That was a whole new experience. And we brought on multiple investors and raised 1.5.
Okay. So you raised some money. You've got the perfect plan, of course. And it sounds like you had some people to help you make this happen.
Yep.
So then what?
So if you were to get a time machine and go back to 2009 and get out of the time machine at that point, I would have been I felt like I was on top of the world because I came from nothing. My dad worked at a bookstore for 40 years. I had some savings, but definitely not a lot of money to start this business. And now I just raised 1.5 million bucks, and I had a group of people that were incredible people, and I had this incredible plan. And I'm business partners with Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank guy. And one of his quotes is, in business, poo-poo happens. And for me, poo-poo happened in the next 12 months. You name it, it happened. I had problems with operations. I had problems with marketing. This was a 2009. We all know the history, 2009. My sales weren't nearly what they were supposed to be, according to my spreadsheet, because of this 2009 going through a recession. It was a really difficult time. And so I had blown through the $1.5 million in 12 months, gone, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. How does that, well, let's talk about the weight of that. When you go to investors with a really great plan and they buy into your plan, and now you have their money, and their money's now gone 12 months later and things aren't going to plan. What is that like?
Well, yeah, you've gone to these investors and you're like, have faith and confidence in me because I'm going to go build a business and these are my projections, and you're way off on your projections. It's embarrassing you feel defeated. So you have that side of the money that people felt confident giving you money to get a return on, and you've completely lost the return. So there's that side. And then you have your friends and family side that now you have to face, knowing, hey, I failed miserably in this business that I set out to make an impact on, and the business is completely destroyed. And so you have really these multiple fronts of this pressure that is building upon your shoulders, knowing that you just had failed in a business that you attempted to create.
Well, some of the people who are tuning into this know exactly, and I should say personally, know personally what that is like. So
Yeah.
they're right there with you. Okay. So
obviously, there's a big difference between problems and pain. Like the problem is I had a failing business, but it created much deeper pain, like a real physical pain. So for me, a rock bottom was on a Thursday night where I had payroll was due the next day on Friday. I was $1,000 short, and I didn't have $1,000 to my name to make payroll. And so I had about $1,500 in the bank, and payroll the next day was $2,500. And what that meant is I had to wake up the next day and go meet with someone and saying, hey, here's an IOU. I can't pay you this week, which is a horrific thing. Horrible. So like literally that night, I had so much anxiety. I just sat in my bed, and I remember just all night just staring at the ceiling, like, what am I going to do tomorrow? I literally had a direct deposit payroll company. I told them, don't run the checks. I'm hoping for a miracle in the morning on some deposit. There is no deposit. And it goes at about noon. And it's this sick feeling of you having to tell, because all it does is now it's like they had faith and confidence in me and jumping on the team that we're going to do well. And we sucked. And now I can't even pay you, which now affects their family. And what happened is I went to lunch, and I'm sitting down with my business partner at the time, and we're like, okay, what have we tapped? Is there anything we can do? We're talking about $1,000, and I just had 1.5 in the time machine, not too much prior time before that. So $1,000, and there was we couldn't come up with it. So I'm literally at lunch, and I get a phone call from my controller, and she said, hey, Shawn, want to let you know, I was opening up the petty cash safe. I found $3,000 in petty cash. What would you like me to do with it in cash? So I was like, hey, hang on to that cash. I'll be right there. I drove to the office. I picked up the cash. I drove straight to the bank. I put the cash in. It clears immediately. And I went into the bank teller, and I had physical checks cut for each individual on the team. That's how close we made it by $1,000 or so. So then I remember presenting the checks to these employees going, this was so much blood, sweat, and tears giving you this check. And I was able to make payroll by that much on that day.
What a story. So, and you felt so much emotional energy to handing those checks out because you knew what it represented. But on the other end of that, the receiving end of that is like, of course, right? Like I worked for you. I'm making good on my agreement. You're just making good on your agreement to pay me.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not a big deal to them, but to you, that was monumental. Okay. So I assume there's a happy ending to this. So you crawl out of this house.
Yeah, there's a much better ending. So obviously life is what we signed up for as entrepreneurs. We know this is what we're facing. It's like, that's why I love what you do on your channel, because I love reading about and listening to your podcast, because you talk about this issue of what it takes to build a business. And we all love the reward. We all love the potential. We all love the excitement, but there is some of those times that's like filled with pain. And we can all associate times that are not just bad days of the office, but real physical pain we experience. So from there, I knew that I had to change a couple of things. And so I did two things. Number one is, as I said, I need to bring on salespeople that can actually sell products. So I love good salespeople. Your listeners that are in sales, I think they get a bad rap, but salespeople are amazing. And I literally made phone calls on Friday afternoon and said, hey, can you come over and sell my stuff? And they're like, yeah, well, I can help you. When do you want me to start? And I was like, can you start on Monday? They're like, well, I already kind of have a gig. I was like, so I just convinced a few people to come sell for me on Monday. And on Wednesday, we did a $4,000 sell. It was like the manna from heaven. It was like angels came down and presented me with $4,000, which means I made payroll again.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the number one thing I did. And the second thing I did was start saying, hey, I know that I need help. I needed to get out of my lane. I was in the grind of every day. And I was like, I need to figure out people out there and make relationships that I can scale a business with. And I went out immediately. I got really uncomfortable. And I went up to people I had relationships in the past. And I said, hey, I want to go to lunch with you. I want to talk. I want to find out what you're doing on marketing. This is my problem. And I started building these relationships, and those relationships were the biggest reason why we went on a run. So we were able to pay off the 1.5 plus interest to all of them. And we were able to go on this run. And it was only because of relationships that I had built. And I made a vow then and there that I would focus a big percentage of my time on only building relationships with entrepreneurs. And that is the one thing that has transformed what I've done in my career.
Okay, so now we want, you've given us the before and after, enough for us to go, okay, Shawn has something to share. And we know it's around relationships and the value in those relationships. So if nothing else, we're practical around here because we deal with a lot of practical founder entrepreneurs. So what are some practical tips that you would give for how people can increase the value of their business by either growing or deepening relationships that they have?
Well, I have 3 rules, but like it's important that entrepreneurs, especially that listen and watch your channel, is they have to understand is there's so many people out there that have an incredible following and influence, and you have your own customers. They have an influence of your potential customers, a lot of them. And if I just go out there and say, hey, this person on Instagram has this kind of following, what if I did a joint venture with that person and I could sell my product to them and create a joint venture and an affiliate arrangement? This could be a great way to scale business. So, it's like we're going through this kind of correction in the market. I highly recommend entrepreneurs consider doing more partnership, joint venture, affiliate deals. Like, go out and do those joint ventures. And so my common question is what you just asked, which is like, where do you start? Like, how do I get into this? Where do I even begin? The first thing is you have the first rule is you got to want it. You have to really want it. It's not easy. I'm still waiting for an easy business. I haven't figured that one out yet. But if you really want to build relationships, you have to actually prioritize it. And it's not easy with your busy schedules, but I'll give you an example. I have someone who reached out to me. He's got a fitness program for entrepreneurs. And he said, hey, I'd like to go to all your lunches you do and all your things. Invite me to everything. I want to go to all of them. I invited this person to the first one, didn't show. Second one didn't show. Third one didn't show. I'm like, if anything, you should be at this lunch. I have 50 entrepreneurs in this room, and you can get up and talk about how you can do fitness for them. You should be there. But if you don't prioritize it, rule number 1, then it won't happen. So prioritize connecting with people is the first principle, first rule.
All right. Now you just hit on something that's one of the biggest obstacles of every business owner, nearly every business owner that we work with. And that is mastering their selves enough to put into their calendar things that matter more than other things, right? So our calendars get filled up almost immediately. Like I went through my calendar every Monday morning. We do this as a team. We go through the calendar for the week. My calendar's full of stuff, right? If you gave me the best opportunity on the planet today, I would have a hard time fitting it in this week, right? And that happens to most of us. We do this. So how do we really how do we keep our word around making time for this stuff? Because we kind of we're like, yes, that would be so good. That would be so good. And then we're like, we just get pulled by the current right back into our business.
100%. There's so much gravel. What I see with entrepreneurs is they just get out their calendar for maybe it's the day before. And they're like, okay, how do I plan my day for tomorrow? I think you do what probably very few do is you actually have this vision to go out a little bit further and start planning what's important. And it's such a critical piece. you have to plan first what's the most important thing for you, and plan that very first in your calendar so the noise and all the gravel doesn't get in the way, right? So I'll give you an example. For me, I read this book called Never Eat Lunch Alone.
Yeah.
And I actually learned it from my business partner, Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary is the kind of person, if you're with him, you feel like a slacker. You ever around someone like that? Just like,
Yeah.
This guy's like so efficient with his time. It's amazing. Like, he is just scheduled down to the second. And it's like the Stephen R. Covey, which is not urgent, but important meetings. Like, he is really crushing. And it was actually a year ago. It was this last January. I said, "Hey, Kevin, what's your New Year's resolution?" And he said, "I want to be 10% more efficient with my time," was his target. And I'm like, where's he going to get 10%?
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, how are you going to do that?" And he said, I figure that I have to eat lunch and I have to eat dinners. So now when I go into a city like San Diego, his right-hand person will call up the top business owners in San Diego. "Hey, do you want to do lunch with Kevin?" He does lunch with some of the highest end people. They film it for content. And so then he found 10% in his schedule. Right. So for me, like, lunches are extremely important. All my lunches are booked out for 2 weeks because I get to spend an hour with an entrepreneur. So that's the very first thing I book. 2 weeks from now, I'm like, "Hey, let's do a lunch on Tuesday. August 1st is what I just booked today," because I get an hour with someone, an hour and a half. So start with the most important things first, and then put in the other stuff.
Yeah. Somehow we can't slow down enough to do it. But I just want to be, I guess, a second witness on that. We've got to make the time for building the future of what's most important to do today that enables a future that's better than today. Otherwise, we just keep doing the same stuff again and again. Okay.
Amen.
Good. So your second, what's your
Okay,
second?
so as part of that, so a lot of people are like, "Hey, where do I even get?" It's like an elephant. It's like, where do I start? And I believe in, you've already made contacts. So take your phone out and start with your cell phone.
Yeah.
And you've probably, like, the average entrepreneur has hundreds, if not thousands, of contacts they've already made in their cell phone.
Mhm.
And do you think a percentage of those people would buy your product or service? Number one. Number two is, do you think a percentage of those have a following that have your customers in their following you might want to talk to? Those are the two buckets, right?
Mhm.
Or third bucket is, you just get a fresh perspective that you come in and like, "Hey, Brett, this is a challenge. I have my business. Can you help me?" So reach out to those people that you have. We're good at making a connection. We're bad at nurturing that connection. So start with 5 contacts a day. I like old school it. I have a spreadsheet, old school, and I make a list of all of my important contacts, and then daily contacts, monthly contacts, quarterly. And I just reach out and it's like, "Hey, Brett, how's it going? Tell me how's your business going? How's the podcast? Give me updates." And you'll be shocked just making that quick little thing. Just take a few minutes a day, make 5 to 10 contacts a day in the existing, network that you've built. It's already sitting there for you. So that's rule number 1.
I love that. So practical. Out of curiosity, are you scheduling appointment times to have those 5 contacts, or you just a block of time in your day and you're just calling cold and saying, "Hey, thinking of you, what's up?"
Yeah. So that's another thing I schedule in my schedule, is like just doing outreach. Like, how many people actually put in their schedule outreach to connect with people?
Right.
So I have a certain time that I just go pull up my phone, look at the spreadsheet, make sure I've contacted certain people, and you'll be shocked. Like, for your listeners, they should all do 5 a day, Monday through Friday. Reach out, prioritize. I made a list of my top priorities where I feel like I could do the best joint venture, the best connections with in my network, and just start reaching out to them.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be planned on their end. They don't have to have an appointment with you. You're just reaching out. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have a set time where I actually sit down. It forces me to do that every day, to sit down and do it.
Right.
I never go over the gravel days without doing it.
You're not going to leave that to chance. This is like core to what you do. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I like that. All right. And then the third thing would be.
Okay. So let me tell you that the second for me is referrals. Referrals are manna from literally. So what it is I'm saying, "Hey, let's say I built a relationship with someone for years and I've cultivated the relationship and I feel so good about you, Brett, that I say, hey, Brett, I want to introduce you to my friend so-and-so. There's a good business alignment here. You guys should chat. That happens. We all get those, right?
Yeah, we all get those. Yeah.
I just see business owners, for the most part, bumble that one. I think it's the best compliment you can get. Someone's going to refer one of their friends. They've had relationships for years and they have an awesome ongoing thing. And they see that, hey, Brett's got this podcast that is amazing for our entrepreneurs. And this is an incredible entrepreneur with a credible story. I'm going to make this connection. I've seen most entrepreneur business owners, they're like, one, they won't respond sometimes. I'm like, wrong.
Are you kidding? Right. Yeah. Somebody's handing you a gift.
Yeah. Or, hey, great to meet you. Those are just, so what I do, the formula for success is, hey, Brett, I want to thank you for the introduction. I appreciate your relationship. I again, edify you. And then I go to the person and say, hey, so great to connect with you. I would love to jump on a Zoom this week. How's your schedule look? Or in person, if you can, would be even better if you're local, right?
Yeah.
So there's a follow through. Like I leave every one of those. I'm probably high 90s or 100% where I actually have a follow up with you because I just got an incredible intro, a referral. So referral is number 2 for me.
Well, and I'm just coincidentally, so I can tell everybody that you practice what you preach. Like this was a referral, right? Somebody introduced us and said, "Oh, you need to talk to Shawn. Shawn's great."
Yeah.
And so here we are talking.
Yeah, and it's all about the follow through.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't be on having this conversation, and I know we'll do a lot more things where I'm going to refer more people to you, and you're going to refer some more people to me. Because we've had this connection. They're so important. I love absolutely doing that. So I would challenge all of your listeners to make sure that if anyone sends you a text, just think in your mind, I got to follow through with this person. And it will pay you bigger dividends than you've ever seen on any kind of lead that you created or any kind of thing. Is referrals, number 1.
That's great. So great. Okay. So I like to review sometimes. So the first thing you shared was we got to make time for this stuff.
Got to prioritize it.
The second thing you shared, the second thing you shared is that we have the starting point right in our pocket. Like it's right in our phone. We already have people that we know. Let's talk to them. Let's connect with 5 people every day. Let's make time for it. It's related to the first one, but we got to make time for it. And we don't have to look very far. We can start with the people in our phone.
That's right.
And then the third one was like
third one is live events.
Okay, live event.
So I love live events, and I've seen a right way to do live events and a wrong way to do live events. Most business owners that listen to your channel will think, hey, if I can go to live events, I can network with a lot of people. I can maybe do some business together, some joint ventures. That's kind of the mindset of why you do it. It's like, hey, the greatest way to scale, in my opinion, is to scale relationships and business, right? So, hey, I'm going to go do these live events. I'm going to go to masterminds. I'm going to go to lunches. I'm going to go connect with people. And I think people really enjoy the interaction. But what I've seen most is they'll go and they'll make that initial contact. If I were to meet you at an event and I really want to connect with you, for the most part, people would just, if I do get your number, that's rare. That's a rarity. But if I do get your number, then I don't have a follow-up with you. And then if I get home, we're like, man, I really wanted to connect with Brett. Yeah, there's such a great business. And then I felt awkward when I get home, just sending you a text. Hey, I met you at that. So my interaction, there's 2 things. I find whoever is kind of like seems to be a magnet in the room. There's certain magnets of people we all know. It's like you look out and everyone seems to be going to them. Like one of mine is David Meltzer. David Meltzer, incredible brand. I went to the Super Bowl with David Meltzer. David Meltzer has people coming to him. I've never seen anything like it. Every 30 minutes, he has groups coming, just they're coming to him. And I stay around David and I'm like, David, would you mind like introduce? So he introduces me to all these people coming in. Now I just get introduced for someone who they love and respect. And it gives me like so much firepower to get a follow-up appointment. So go to someone who's a magnet in the room, ask them if they wouldn't mind introducing you. And then when you get introduced to someone and say, hey, Brett, I would love to learn more about your business. What's your schedule look like this week? Let's do a Zoom, or would you mind coming by the office, or I can come by your office. And now I have an actual appointment. It's not awkward. I know that I'm going to see you on Thursday at 2:00. We have a follow-up, and I can come away with 15 to 20 appointments that are an actual follow-through. That's the right way to do it versus like, hey, I just met a lot of people and I never really planted the seed.
Okay. So I was mixing up I think I was mixing up part A and part B of your first recommendation. So your recommendation number one was to prioritize it, and you can start with making 5 contacts a day out of your phone.
Yes.
The second one was to not mess up these precious referral opportunities that we get. And the third one was the live events, and that it's not just being there and being around people, but actually taking steps to connect after that event. Like, get around those magnets, but let's meet with people, and then let's schedule time to connect. Let's develop relationships from there.
Yeah. What I think people have this fear. There's a couple of fears is like, what do I say? Like, what do I say to someone, especially someone who has a bigger brand than mine, like a big following? What do I say? It's Stephen R. Covey. My favorite quote of Stephen R. Covey of all time: first seek to understand, and then to be understood. So many people like, I've been with Kevin, like literally I went to the mall with Kevin. He was getting his laptop fixed. He's walking through the mall wearing his Shark Tank outfit. And it's like, hey, Kevin, I got a pitch. I can pitch. I think he got pitched 15 times from his car to get his laptop fixed. And he's kind of like just walking. He's used to it. Hey, Kevin, I got this.
And, what a horrible existence.
And I'm like, dude, it's better to be rich than famous, Kevin, for sure. And he's like, yeah, but the thing is if you went up to Kevin and say, Kevin, tell me about your brand. What are you trying to accomplish? Where do you see your brand going in the next year, 2 years, 5 years down the road?
Yeah.
Because they have their ecosystem. Seek to understand that first. And then you could show them how you fit into that world of theirs versus like, let me tell you about my stuff, and transactional. I'm just going to do transactions with you, right? Versus actually trying to seek to understand. So just go up to someone at a live event and say, hey, Brett, tell me more about your business. I'd love to learn more. Oh my, okay. And that turns into a conversation. And then that conversation turns into, hey, I have a business that might be a good fit that we can work together on a reciprocity. Why don't we do a call on Thursday? What's your schedule look like? You'll have 100% close rate on getting appointments. So that's the idea.
Yeah, very good. Well, you went from almost not making payroll, boy, to find $3,000 in the petty cash. Like that was amazing. But anyway, almost not making payroll to now you've got a situation where you're not scrambling to make payroll every time.
Right.
Tell us how big is your team now? What does that look like?
So Tax Hive, we have 70 people here. This building is 30,000 feet. We do live events in this building. We have a live event space at our building. We came up with the Tax Hive concept because we are business owners, and we know business owners, entrepreneurs want to solve problems. And one of our problems, personal problems, was we experienced having to get stuck with a big tax bill, which is just a miserable thing.
Right.
Like I have a good friend who went from not having to pay taxes very much to all of a sudden he has to pay 86 grand. He's writing a check out. He had to write a check out for. He had absolutely zero tax planning, zero. Yeah. Writing out an $86,000 check that he wasn't planning on is not a good strategy. So we had this idea, and so that's where we created Tax Hive. So Tax Hive does 3 things. We do tax planning for business owners. Number 2 is we do tax filing for business owners. And number 3 is we do bookkeeping to solve we love the small business owners. So those are the 3 things we came up with. So we launched Tax Hive, our business. And then we came up with that. We're like, hey, who's got a great brand out there that we could go get their face and their brand on Tax Hive, and then we'll sell a lot more products. And so that was where Tax Hive first was, the seed was planted with that business. And that's the business that we're operating now.
Yeah, well, it's been great to spend this time with you. Thank you for sharing your insights into how to build business through relationship. Those were very clear and practical steps that you gave us. I believe all of us can do every single one of those three things that you said. And that's just a matter of, do we really want it, right? Back to where you started. Do you really want it? Yeah, we got to.
Let me just tell you, I'll tell you a quick thing in closing. I'll tell you how we pitched Kevin really quickly.
Wait, you didn't just run up to him at a mall with 15 other people?
Yeah, that would have been a zero close rate, success rate, right?
Right.
So we had a relationship with Kevin. So we were on the show, but I reached out to his right hand. He had no idea we're going to pitch him on, but I said, hey, we have a business we want to present you with. So happened to be in Arizona, right down there. He was doing an event. And so his right hand set up a dinner. And you watch the show, right? So it's like, he says, you're dead to me if you don't know the numbers. So I was not going to be caught not knowing my numbers. So I had prepared, and lots of writing on this, because we know we're going to get a massive lift if Kevin can jump on board and actually be in equity. So I memorized every line graph, every bar chart. I was ready for him to say, hey, what are your numbers on this, right? So we're sitting around at dinner. He's sitting at the one end. I go launching into the presentation of what the business is, where we have these 3 areas we're going to go. And literally 3 or 4 minutes in, he gives me the Simon Cowell stop. And I remember my heart sank, and I look over and remember the guys I was with, they're looking at me like, it took you like 3 minutes to mess this up. And I was like, I messed this up in 3 minutes. And he said, hey, I'm in. Whatever it's going to take. This has been a business I've been looking for, because he talks to small business owners all the time, and he has a bunch of small businesses that he buys. Yeah. He's like, this is a massive need. I've been looking for this. Let's do it. And so it took a lot longer to finally get it done, but then the deal came on and we started marketing his brand. So that's where we go out. We spend a lot of money on his brand every month, create about 1,000 business owners a week in our marketing efforts, and sell them those packages. So that's the story of Tax Hive, and Kevin has been an incredible partner ever since.
Well, that's quite a story. So you didn't mess it up in 3 minutes. Turns out you hit a home run in 3 minutes. That's pretty good. Well, thank you for taking the time, Shawn. It's been awesome to spend this time with you. I know people will be interested in hearing about Tax Hive and connecting with you, since you are a super connector. How do they learn more about Tax Hive? How do they connect with you?
So taxhive.com, we put tons of great information, even if you don't buy from us a tax package. We pack the website full of just incredible tax information. Lots of videos from Kevin on there, all for free. So go to taxhive.com. I'm on social media. So you can see my last name's Finnegan. So Shawn Finnegan, you search that, you're going to find me. I'm probably one of the Shawn Finnegans out there. So love to connect with you. DM me, would love to make a contact. And I also love to get referrals.
All right. Surprise, surprise. You like those referrals. Well, thanks again, Shawn. For all of you listening, please share, like, comment, do all those things so that more 7-figure business owners can hear these wonderful interviews with amazing guests like Shawn. Thanks again for being here, Shawn.
Thank you, Brett. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll catch you all next time on the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast.
You've been listening to the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Brett Gilliland. Be sure to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. You may also want to visit our website, eliteentrepreneurspodcast.com, to find additional resources to grow your business from 7 figures to 10 million and beyond.